All right, so I'd like to make some salient points here on the Gunslinger. First of all, much of this carving was created via power tools, and the reason for that was because it's birch and very dense, heavy, and extremely hard. So much of it was to save my hands from injury, and as I'm older, it certainly gets harder to try to carve the harder stuff. That said, I followed all the same principles I normally do with all my methods. I just ended up using a lot of the power tools in order to just hack off everything that was unnecessary. Now is in a phase where I can use more hand tools. That said, you'll note that the face here is kind of facing down now, but there's more to do to get his facial features and the whole head region to be down further. And I need his chin to appear to be leaning on his chest or almost on his chest. So I'll be making efforts today to get this whole head region to appear to be facing down. You'll note that the bridge of the nose is very flat here to the onlooker, because if his head is facing down, then you would see the flat of his nose in a straight parallel way. So that is a reminder to me to keep that flat. Additionally, I'll have to get the hat here also to angle down, and I'll do that by putting in a bit of a gouge here, so you can see a circular shape here and here. That will make it appear that this is lower than this section here, and then I'll get the bridge of the hat to angle inward a bit, and that will also make everything appear to be looking down at an angle. The cigar itself here, obviously it sticks out quite a bit past the gun, but if I cut the cigar here approximately to here and drop its angle a bit, it will have the appearance of being behind this gun here. So we'll do that toward the end, because we don't want this snapping off as we're working. It becomes quite fragile when you take the little things and you start getting them all detailed and completed before everything around it is as well. So we'll leave that toward the end there. The hair itself, in this case, the hair is here in this area and in this area. And the reason I haven't cut that too much is because hair, for the most part, goes everywhere. So I'll want to have, circular hair, curly. In addition, it's wavy forward, wavy backwards. And over here, it'll come and go from here to here and be all kind of, random shapes. So I'm kind of just leaving everything that I need in place there, so that when I start doing that work, I'll have the material to work with. So that just kind of gets left. The neck region is harder to see from here, but it'll be part of the face here, which is why the material's here, in addition to the area here next to the gun and face, in between the face and the gun, and here as well, also down in here. So the neck will be just very slight, and there'll be garments in here on the chest, this garment here, in addition to other stuff. So we'll just get that in there as a detail as we get to the details phase. The hands themselves, hands and arms really, but the hands, obviously it's left over right, and the right needs to only really appear as if it's lower than the left. In this case, it is in fact lower, has been cut lower than the left, but it's not too much lower. It may appear as if it's quite a bit lower, but it's not. So if you consider that, as long as you're doing your job in that you're making people believe that it's quite a bit lower and or actually in its right place, then you're doing everything right and it's working great. So in this case, I'll be putting in shadow here too to accentuate the depth of this hand to this hand. You can see over here that the shawl or the poncho is quite a bit higher than the arm itself down here, and some of that can go away, or some of it, you know, can just stay the same. But for the most part, you know, it's low here, obviously behind the hand. This will be part of the garment, and you'll be able to see into there, and the arm itself up to this area. So that'll have some depth. That'll help us. The depth here between this poncho and the arm, that'll help us. And then a lot of these areas will get cut out at the edges so you can see the type of clothing that it is, and that will help us. You can also tell here that this part of the poncho seems to be somewhat higher than the elbow itself. And yes, some of that will be cut back, but I don't want to lose too much of this depth down here, so not too much will be cut off. As long as I can make it appear as if it's behind this arm, then there's no problem. Finally, overall, there's going to be behind cuts. So for example, take it from the outside in. So the poncho here, there'll be cuts underneath this final point here, all these areas like this here. There'll be points where I'm just cutting in behind, cutting in behind, cutting in behind, and everything else. And that will add a great deal of depth, especially when you consider that I might add color or stain or something that will accentuate the background and contrast it to the piece in front, to the piece in back. As you can imagine, I'll be cutting in here, obviously here a lot. Even though there won't be too much to cut, there'll be a lot of back cutting so that I can get the depth that I want. The gun itself will be completed and detailed, and once that's done, I'll know how much I can back cut on those items. This one here will obviously be cut way back and removed from the back itself, as will here. The cowboy hat, in addition, will also be cut back, and the hair will be a big cut back because you'll be able to see behind those. So a lot of the cutbacks will add a great deal of depth from just regular lighting shadows, in addition to shadowing that I do after the fact. So for the most part, it's working really well. And I can go in now and use my hand chisels to help me get that done. All right, let's proceed with today's work. Thanks.